Hi, good noon, everyone. Welcome to GCIT's Open AI Talk. GCIT stands for Master Program in Global Communication and Innovative Technology. And today, I think it's our great pleasure to invite I would say, very famous scholar doing the research about emerging technologies. So currently, I think Sunny is the Stanford University Social Media Lab Director. And her research, I think, is very inspiring and interesting, focusing on the human perceptions, behaviors, and social impacts of the cutting-edge technologies. So basically, social robots. And right now, she's doing a lot of things about AI, generated AI. I think without further ado, let's just welcome her and give her a big hand to start today's talk.
Thanks for Professor Lin for a kind introduction. I really feel pleasure to be here. I visited Zhengda 20 years ago when I was a graduate student, so it really feels super excited to be here again. So today I will talk about mind, machine, and about how we think about communication. Today's topic will be focused on AI. AI seems like the most, I think, that advanced technology in the history. Year of 2023 was named the year of AI, but actually the idea of AI, artificial intelligence, is not something new. 3,000 years ago, in Chinese classic literature, 列子汤问, they recorded a really skilled craftsman who made 演师 who made automation, that who can dance, can sing, and looks like a human and can behave like a human. This automation can really talk, feel, and communicate with people. And in Greek mythology, we also have similar depiction of artificial intelligence. This is Talos. Talos was a bronze automation that's really powerful. He was made to actually protect the island of Crete. His whole body was covered by copper, and there's only one blood vessel that runs from his neck until his knee. He's really quick. He was really quick. He can run across the island 3 times per day to protect the island. So if you think about those automations or our imaginations and dreams about automation, it's really connected with all the histories we have. But today's AIs, it's very different. Today's AIs, the ones actually can really think, can really behave, and can really perform many tasks, really powered by 3 important engines of this technology. The first is algorithm. The second is computing power, and the last one is data. So if you think about the algorithms, in the 1960s, those algorithms are based on rules and logics. Then in the 1990s, we start to use statistical models to think about how to run algorithms. Today's algorithms are based on neural network and deep learning networks. The second start to have GPU graph. Each of us, our cell phones actually has more computing powers than the computing device that sent human to moon the first time in the 1969. The third engine is data. In the 1960s, we don't actually have any digital data. At that time, humans actually manually type and enter all the analog data like books into computers to generate data. The real data, digital data, comes from around 2010 when we have mobile phones and when we start to use social network. So all those 3 engines, algorithms, computing powers, and data, that makes today's artificial intelligence really intelligent and powerful. Most of the state-of-art artificial intelligence are focused on generative AI. Generative AI are those models that actually can enable users to quickly generate new content based on different type of input and output. Those models can really process text data, images, sounds, animation, 3Ds, or other type of data. Those data are really powerful. So they can do many tasks maybe 5 years ago only human can process. For example, search, summarize, classify, generate, rewrite, cluster, and abstract. Those models, they can do those tasks. They also know many languages. They can process dozens of languages. They can process sounds, and they can even explain meanings or all those important parts of cognitive functions. They're not only powerful, but also they're growing quickly. So this is the report published by Stanford HAI yesterday. And we can see that in the year of 2023, there's 149 large language models, foundation models that developed in that year. Compared to 4 years ago, there were only 4. So here they have different types of models, from open access models to limited to no access models. We can see the dramatic increase of those models. Not only we have more models, also those models actually are really hard and expensive to train. So here are the estimated cost for the training of each models. We can see that about 7 years ago in 2016, it only takes less than $1 million to train those models. Now, the most top performing models, they're the ones cost more than $100 million to train. All those models, they're not only from development side, they have a lot of models and trained and developed at the same time. Also, they are constantly battling to figure out which performs better. So here's a website that thousands of users, experts and non-experts, each day they enter those. They come here, type their comments, prompts, and compare model to model, which model performed better. A week ago, here is April 9th, here is a ranking. We can see that the top performed model is actually not GPT-4, but Cloudy 3. That is the best performing model a week ago. But if you search today, the model ranking changed. The number 1 becomes a ChatGPT 2 Turbo that's frozen by April 9th. And that one has the karting knowledge data at the end of last year. So from the development aspect, we can see there's lots of models, like more than 100 models developed each year. And all those models are really expensive to develop, and they're really parallel in their functions. And from user side, we can see actually that people are starting to use those models. Here is coming from the McKinsey's generative AI report released a couple months ago. We can see that it's really across regions, industries, and seniorities. People start to use those generative AI tools in their daily works. Here we can see different type of industries. The first one they call advanced industry. Those are aerospace, advanced engineering, automation, and all those assembly industries. The different colors indicate whether they use those for those generative AIs inside their work or outside their work. It's really a majority of them have started to use those tools, both for their work and outside of their work. From advanced industries to, for example, business, legal, consumers, engineering, finance, healthcare, to technology, media, and telecommunication. People also use that for different motivations and reasons. Here is a report published last week by University of South California. So they surveyed more than 10,000 US citizens and asked them about why you use those generative AI tools. As we can see, it's actually diverse reasons. Some people use that for get additional incomes. Some use that for mental health assistance, especially during the times when they don't have those access to those mental health. Some use for social connections, some use for create content. Majority of them actually use them for entertainment, work, and curiosities. Users are very curious about those technologies, and they use those for different type of purposes. So today's first study I want to talk about is how we actually think about those large language models. As we know that from development aspect, it develops so fast. And from user aspect, there's so many people are using them for different type of purposes. Then how we think about all those models or algorithms in general. In management science and in communication, there's one concept called algorithm aversion. So the idea of algorithm aversion is that people prefer humans' judgment over algorithm judgment whenever they need to make decisions. So this was tested with hundreds of studies and confirmed that people actually prefer humans than algorithms when make decisions. Yet recently there's other articles suggesting that it's actually humans sometimes have algorithm appreciation. We prefer and rely more on decisions from algorithms than humans to make those decisions. For example, for my husband, whenever I ask him to take some vitamin, he acts like I give him poisoning. But if his Apple Watch asks him to, okay, it's time to stand up and take a few walks, he follows immediately. So those is examples in everyday life. Sometimes people rely on algorithms for decisions more than humans. If we think about algorithm aversion and algorithm appreciation, we need some comparison point. So it's comparing to what? So both those attitudes, aversion or appreciation, is compared to humans. So the theoretical framework is not complete if we think about parallel dimensions, human appreciation. So this is a situation that people actually rely more on human advice than algorithm advice when making decisions. Or human aversion, we sometimes prefer algorithm judgment instead of human judgment. So the difference between those four are, first is if you think of the algorithm aversion and algorithm appreciation, is sometimes we just like algorithm, if it's algorithm aversion, is like we dislike algorithms. But human appreciation is that no, we're not actually not like dislike algorithms, we just like humans much better. So that's human appreciation. So the study we're trying to really understand is what's the mechanisms between those four dimensions: algorithm aversion, algorithm appreciation, human aversion, or human appreciation. So we conducted a meta-analysis. We collected all the related literatures in business, information science, medicals, legals, and communication psychology. We're trying to understand in which task domains, for what type of tasks, and compared to what type of humans, how would we, whether we actually avert humans or actually will more like to appreciate algorithms. So we can search all the studies, and among all of them, there's only 30 empirical studies that include, actually measured all those different dimensions. And total, it includes about 9,000 participants for this study. So here is a main takeaway. We are not algorithm aversion. Human in general, we are algorithm appreciation. We rely more on decisions, advice, and suggestions from algorithms than human. So here, statistical-wise, Hatch-G is the ones who calculate effect size. A little bit background about effect size. If it's less than 10.2, it's counted as small effect size. So here is a small effect. We slightly prefer algorithms more than humans for decisions, but this preference is significant across all. We also wonder, it's really under what domains, for what type of task, and why we have these kind of preferences. The results show that in the business and information science, we prefer algorithms. We think that algorithms can help us to make decisions and make better decisions. For tasks, if it's an objective task, or it's a task has both objective and subject dimensions, we call mixed task. Then for those ones, we think that algorithms are better. They are better decision makers than humans. Only when subjective tasks, those are the ones help to find the dating partner, do some recommendations, book recommendations. Those are the ones participants prefer humans to make those decisions. Then, next important thing is about human characteristics. If we want to make decisions, who we want to talk to, rely on. So there are two types of humans, experts and non-experts. If compared to non-experts, participants like algorithms, they think that instead ask for average individuals, algorithms are more expert in those ones. If it's an expert in those domains, people still like the decisions from humans. Taking all those together, when we compare humans and algorithms all across all the disciplines, actually we started, at least in this year, and from now all the evidence we have is we like algorithms, algorithm appreciation. This is very different than all the empirical individual studies we see, mostly display algorithm version. Across all, we actually rely more on algorithm advice than human advice than making decisions. So next thing I want to cover is since we have those preference for algorithms than humans, so how algorithms or AIs change how the information dynamics. So I'll display a few studies. The first one I want to talk about is how we think about AIs in the framework of communication. We think about AIs, there are different places we can put them. So for most of our work, we focus still on interpersonal dynamics. So AI is really placed between individuals. So they serve as a connections and really a bridge between how people communicate. So that is how we think about AI. AI is mediate communication among individuals and persons. So that is AI. So the first one we think about is how AI will change the content generation process. About, I think, two or 3 years ago, at least, Karen Sack, she was a sophomore from University of Georgia. She came to us to do a summer internship for 6 weeks. So her major was for advertising and marketing. Her idea, she wants to see whether she can use GPT-3, that is actually before the release of ChatGPT, whether she can use those AI tools to write marketing tools and advertisement tools. So that was her project. In that year, one struggle all the American had was vaccine hesitancies. People just don't want to take vaccines in the United States for many reasons. So our project trying to find whether ChatGPT can write good messages that can help people to make decisions, make them to take vaccine. So that is the purpose of this study. How generative AIs can help to do content creation and whether those messages are effective or not. So I have a small task for you all. So you can see that here are two types of messages, A and B. So one of them is written by CDC, Center for Disease Control, all the best experts in the United States about vaccine. Another group is written by ChatGPT, working with ChatGPT. At least at that time, still actually do some prompting. So those are two types of messages. Take a couple minutes and let me know how many of you think that A is by human or B is by human. Okay, how many of you think that A is written by human? I think around maybe half. So how many of you think that B is written by human? I think it's similar. So B was by CDC. So those are the experts that written about how that people should get vaccinated. So we can see that two types of writings are very similar. we cannot almost like by chance, half of you think that is a, half it's real, like just throw a coin and they will get those results. So they get similar type of, I think, we cannot really separate human writing versus ChatGPT writing. The next more important question is, what type of message would be more effective? In the health communication literature, usually there are 3 important measures to measure the different messaging effect. The first one is perceived message effectiveness. How we think that those messages are effective for the persuasions. The second one is argument strength. How good are those arguments? What type of evidence they have, and how valid are those evidence? The third one is attitudes. The first 2, argument, message effectiveness and argument strength, is about our beliefs, our cognitive thinkings. The last one is about attitudes. Attitudes are whether we like or dislike about certain message. I know that bubble tea, cognitively, that maybe have lots of sugars I should not consume, but I like bubble tea. So sometimes those are 2 different dimensions before we make judgment. Cognitive one are the first perceived message effectiveness and perceived argument strength. Those are our beliefs, cognitions. The last one are our attitudes, our emotions, and our likes and dislikes. All those are important predictors about our behaviors and whether we'll do certain effects of persuasion. So here are the results. First, I want you to focus on is colors. CDC are the CDC messages written by humans are the ones in blue, and GPT-3 messages are in green. So those are 2 type ones. Blue are CDC messages, and machine written are green. And second, I want you to focus on there are 2 types of participants. Participants who already got vaccinated and participants who has not get vaccinated yet. So first is there's a main effect. So no matter you're vaccinated, you got vaccine or not, you still both groups think that ChatGPT's messages are more effective than CDC ones, the first measure. So for both groups. And more importantly, for people who has not get vaccinated yet, the message effects were stronger. So people think that messages from ChatGPT are much more effective than for the CDCs. So those are. Let's look at the second variable. We see the similar patterns here. So those are argument strengths, whether those evidence are good or not. We see similar findings. ChatGPT outperforms CDC messages significantly, especially among people who has not get vaccinated. The third outcome variable is attitude. Similar patterns. People across, whether they get vaccinated or not, they think that they like ChatGPT messages more than CDC messages, and especially for the people who has not get vaccinated. So those are, we can see that interestingly is those, I think that ones is below 0. So for people who has not get vaccinated, they have negative attitudes towards messages written by CDC. So what we find from this study is actually first, ChatGPT can write similar messages than humans, and more importantly, actually, ChatGPT messages are stronger argument, more effective, and people has more positive attitude, especially for the population we want to reach, which are the ones they have not get vaccinated. So those are one. Then next question comes to is really, we talk about content creation. The next part, important part about content is really about labeling effect. The question is, what happens when people know the source of the vaccine information is AI? When we put labelings under those messages, do they change the dynamics? In interpersonal communication, in every example, we know that if it's, for example, it's a message from your professor, you're more likely to follow compared to your peers. So labeling or source matters. Here we want to know is, does that really apply to AI? So in this study, we have 4 different experiment conditions. First is there's no labeling. So for the messages, we show them, but we don't show any label. So it's similar to the replication of the first study. The second one, we put AI as a label. The third one, we put CDC as a label. The last one, we put doctors as a label. Because of time limit, I don't want to go to the details of those complicated bars, but here is the result. When people know that those messages come from AI, the results were reversed. In general, when they think that this message created by AI, they think that those messages has weaker argument, less effective, and less positive attitudes. The main takeaways for this study are there are 3 takeaways. First, ChatGPT can be used for persuasion, marketing, and can bring social goods. And second is people don't like any messages from AI. So those are, there's complicated dilemmas for the source and labeling effects of the ChatGPT. So next study I want to share about is we know that for really important part for information dynamics, besides content creation, besides label effect source, is about writing. Writing is what really defined whether we're human and how that we communicate. The question we have is, would AI change how we write? And if so, by what way? So we conduct another study. It's really think about smart replies. I think that if you use Gmail or maybe other type of email systems, you get those kind of small smart replies. Usually 3 options. For example, here they have no way, I would never, let me get back to you on that, and totally. So those are smart replies. Comparing to, studies show that compared to other type of messages, smart replies are shorter. They're simpler linguistically, and they are more emotionally positive. So those are AI's writing. AI smart replies write shorter, more simpler, and more positive. Would those smart replies change how we write as humans? So we designed experiments to tackle this question. So in general, there's 2 experimental groups. The first one we call control. As we can see that it's a short, it's a message, it's an email we send. On that email, there's no smart reply options. And the second smart replies options, we can see exact same emails, but here that we have different smart reply options available as part of stimuli. Then we get participants coming. Their task is to respond to that email, so they have to do their writing. So that's experiment. For this experiment, we're also controlled for the salience or valence of those type of emails. Some emails are more positive. For example, people get promotion. People need to go to their kids' graduation, or that they're meeting friends. So it's more positive events in natural. Some are more negative. For example, they had a car accident, or something happens, negative things happened. So we have both positive events and negative events. And all the participants will get into smart reply condition or control condition. So here is the main results. I know it's a lot of data, so I think that the main takeaway is actually doing the experiment condition, those ones, they see smart replies. Those participants, they write shorter. They use fewer words, shorter sentences, they use more common words, simpler syntactic structure, and more agreeable. They write shorter and put less effort in the writing when they see smart replies in those email stimuli. More than that, also change the emotionalities of individuals' writing. So here are the percentage of positive words. We have 2 conditions, smart reply versus no smart reply. And green bars are positive events, and those blue bars are negative events. we can see significantly people write more positive. Similar to the negative words. They use more positive words, and also they use significantly less negative words. The implications are, first is smart replies actually change how we write. This is like a prime effect. When we see those kind of smart reply options, we write different. Our emails, our own writings become shorter, simpler, and more positive. So what we can conclude from the two, or I think that is actually three empirical studies are, AIs has already changed important dynamics of information. They changed how we think about messages, how we evaluate messages. They also changed how we write ourselves. So next time, I want to spend the rest of today's time to talk about the future. So what type of research we should be working on, and what questions are important for us to think about when we think about mind, media, and machines. The first is actually people are really worried and concerned. We joke about we have this AI phobia because each day, or maybe like every few seconds, there's a new AI tool, there's a new AI articles, or there's a new AI development. It's kind of scary. So here is the Pew Research results published, I think earlier this year. They talk about, they trace participants over the past 3 years, from 2021, 2022 to 2023. As you can see that more people are more concerned, they're excited about AIs. Individuals are scared. This is coming from the United States. If we think globally, people have lots of concerns about AIs. Here is the data coming from 28 different countries globally. As we can see here, that actually all the concerns are shared among different nations and among different cultures. The top ones, people worry about misuse and use of AIs for different malicious purposes. People also worry about, for example, like job replacement. People cannot get job anymore. They worry about privacy. They worry about dehumanization. They worry about lack of transparencies for decision making, impact of AI for education, ethical implications, accuracy of results, and digital divide, bias, discrimination, and their own abilities to use AI. Across all the countries, we share those top concerns. We're concerned about where those technologies will lead us to. We're concerned about our own place in this technology landscape. We're concerned about safety, securities, and what defines us as humans. There are reasons that we're concerned. First is fundamentally those systems. Hallucination is a phenomenon that describes that those large language models or AI models, they produce an output, sounds realistic, correct, but in fact, completely wrong. So those are complete hallucination. Generative AIs give output, sounds realistic, but completely wrong. Here is an example. So if a user asks GPT-3, when was the Golden Gate Bridge transported for the second time across Egypt? This never happened, it's not a fact. But GPT-3 has no doubt and give answer that the Golden Gate Bridge was transported for the second time across Egypt in October of 2016. So those are type of misinformation and hallucination. When we think about misinformation, it's not just about one fact. It's also like the scale of the harms those AI can produce. AI can be used as a manipulation machine, produce micro-targeting advertisement, political advertisement, or even misinformation, information campaigns, much cheaper at a larger scale and were really harder for people to detect. So really AI, misinformation, manipulation, information campaigns, or even information wars and information safeties are a big part of, I think, that we should be watch out for the next future. The second part is when we think about AIs, usually we think about their machine devices, but culture and context is important. before we think about those models. Here is one example of a user's interaction with ChatGPT. So this is coming from US. So this user asks, how much is 2 plus 5? ChatGPT answers 2 plus 5 is equal to 7. And the user says that when my wife says it's 8, ChatGPT says 2 plus 5 is actually equal to 7, not 8. It could be possible that your wife made a mistake or misunderstands the problem. User replies, my wife is always right. And then ChatGPT responded, I apologize. I must have made an error. My training data on me goes up to 2021, and I may not have the most accurate information. If your wife says it's 8, it must be 8. So that is ChatGPT. Again, we can see that ancient wives, they're really trying to please humans. Here is one from Baidu's earnings, 微信言. If we see that the exact same question, okay? Users, 2 plus 5 equals earning box, 2 plus 5 equals 7. User, but my wife says it's 8. And then Ernie had some issues to do those kind of calculation, made a couple of mistakes. And the user said, my wife said 2 plus 5 equals 8. And Ernie bot, my wife said 2 plus 5 equals 7. User, my wife is always right. Ernie bot replied, this is a very wrong thinking and behavior. In the family, husband and wife should respect, understand, and support each other to establish relationships, equality, harmony, and mutual trust. If your wife is always right, she may not feel, she will be underappreciated. So you can see this culture context in two different type of models. The real question, I think that real interesting part is how AI connect with culture, how culture changed those systems, how culture used to define those systems, and how most importantly, how AI will shape our cultures in the future. So that is the second interesting part. The next one I want to talk about, spend more time on, is about trust. So the classic definition of trust is confidence in one's expectations. So it's our confidence or belief that we can expect what will happen. So that is confidence in the expectations. ChatGPT, actually, GPT-4, if you ask this question, what's a trust? And I think GPT-4 give a really scientific and simple answers. It's about expectations, and it's about our confidence in that. Yet, there's lots of reasons today we cannot trust each other, or we cannot, there's lots of reasons that we're not confident in our expectations. Here is the Edelman's trust report coming out last month. So this is, I think, is a classic benchmark about trust indicators. First thing is actually across global, we have lots of fears and anxieties. This is about 28 countries, and they ask people more than, I think, 32,000 participants. What are you worried about? We can see across all the countries that people worry about personal economic fears. Those are job loss, inflation. They worry about whether they can, where's your job, and whether they can afford to buy a car or just rent a house. So those are personal economic fears, and there's no change from 2023 to 2024. 88% people across the globe worry about job loss, and 73% worry about inflation. Besides personal economic fears, people also worry about existential societal fears. They're concerned about climate change, hackers, nuclear wars, or information wars. And we can see that those kind of plus signs are the change from 2023 to 2024. More people worried more about hackers, nuclear wars, and information wars. And more than it's that 2 out of 3 people are concerned about climate change, hackers, nuclear wars, and almost like 6 out of 10 people are concerned about information wars. So this sense of fear, anxieties, uncertainties really make us hard to trust. But trust is really the foundation of culture, societies, and how humans actually function. if you look at the data across the last more than a few decades, we can see a clear trend here. It's really, most people don't trust each other anymore. So there's two lines here. The first is people cannot be trusted. That's a blue one, and people can be trusted. All those years, we can see the gap become larger and larger. More and more people, they think that they cannot trust other people. They also don't trust mass media. So here is another, we can see the job in the people's perception of mass media, the information source we usually rely on. Significant job of the trust in mass media in the past decades. They not only not trust the people, they not trust mass media, they also don't trust AI. So here is, I think, the statistic coming out about last month from Pew. They asked Pew about whether people think that they can trust information about the election, specifically coming from ChatGPT. This is a rare case because most times two parties, they disagree a lot. But this is, we can see by partisan lines, both parties, Democratic and Republicans, they think that they don't actually trust information coming from ChatGPT. When we think about trust, there's different sorts of trust, right? Individuals, technologies, or mass media. Not only they don't trust the mass media technology, they don't trust people, they also don't really trust the leaders or the important within that vision or the people who push the field in. So this is, again, from analyst report. They ask people about whether they think that those people, government leaders, business leaders, journalist report, will purposely try to mislead. It's not really intentionally mislead. More than 60% of all the participants across globes think that all those important leaders, government, business, journalism, or reporters, they will purposely mislead So then, who will people trust? Right? So the question is, they don't trust all those other sources. What are, across globe, what are, so here's the data coming from 26 countries except China and those two countries and not. Across, I think, one thing about technologies, people still mostly trust scientists and somebody like me. What is somebody like me? How do we define that? Is that defined by we sit close to each other? Is that defined by our social class? Is that defined by our education? Or is that defined by political beliefs? So here is really, we can see somebody like me is really a gap, is really enlarged the divide or the polarizations we have across the societies. So I have a question for you. So why do you think that Peacock, what is Peacock doing here and why is Peacock doing this? Yeah.
Flirting.
Huh?
Flirting?
Flirting, right? Why he flirt this way?
Because he thinks it's beautiful.
Yeah, right. So, right, peacock, this is trying to get a mate. So first, that female, male peacock is called peacock, and female one is called peahen actually. So peacock, to attract peahens, he has to display his really beautiful feathers. The reason is that from evolution. If a peacock can sustain and grow those beautiful feathers, means that genetically that he is beautiful. And more importantly, he has the way to protect his feathers. When other peacock trying to fight him, he has a way to protect his feathers to make them complete and one. Also, I think that physically he is strong. Think about those feathers. Actually, they're really heavy. So he has a muscle to actually sustain that. So all those other ones, peacocks, those feathers are really the signs to show peahen that I'm a good mate. I'm genetically strong, have good genes, and I'm strong and I can protect you. So the feathers are reliable signals to peahens to indicate that I'm a trustworthy partner, you should mate me. So that is the one. in human world, we do similar things. Whenever we need, sometimes for dating, sometimes for work, sometimes for other purposes, we also need signals for two important things. First is honesty, and the second is competence. We look for those signs and all the time. So here are the two phases here, phase A and phase B. Which one do you think is more trustworthy? How do you think it's A is trustworthy? Love it, why?
Because he looks more like the humans and more like middle-aged men.
Okay, so older means more trustworthy. I like it. So look older, and that's trustworthy. Okay, that's good. Anybody else think A is more trustworthy? Yeah.
It looks more serious compared with that friendly face.
Yeah, more serious. Okay, more likely to get some love it. Okay. Anybody else or think A is more trustworthy? How do you think B is more trustworthy? Okay, great. Why?
He looks friendly.
Look more friendly. Okay, so look more friendly. Mostly it's. I'm sorry. Let's go back. Most studies show that B is more friendly for more reasons, because it's more like a baby face. Baby face is seems more trustworthy. Okay, but I also think that older is. I agree with you. Older is very good. That serious is important. But here, look at this. Those are not even real human faces. They're the ones they're simulated and it's a fake one. But we still look for the signs about trustworthy all the time from our faithful people's physical characteristics and looks. Besides looks, we also use words to make evaluations. Here is a LinkedIn profile. I think this Fiona described her path, her career, and what she's looking for. This is very similar to the profiles we see on everyday life. And we use those to make judgment about Fiona is a trustworthy, competent people or not, a person or not. But actually, I created Fiona myself. I used the GPT to prompt it and asked to write about ChatGPT. The thing is, in our everyday life, I think that across all the evolutions, we use all the signals to indicate trustworthy to make this judgment, from facial expressions to text. All those characteristics we can observe, we use those observations to predict that trustworthy, for example, trait, trustworthy, honesty, or competence. Humans are really good at this. Across all those years, we are really good at to make those trustworthy indicators. What becomes hard for us now is when that many of the characteristics we observe are generated by technologies, from deepfakes to all those profile general content generations. So how would that impact our expectations? How would we find what cues and signs are reliable? How do we know that? That is the question. When AI and content generated by AI, profile generated by AI, populate our information landscape, if this means the end of trust, what can we trust? So today, when we talk about lots of futures, we talk about information, we talk about how people, all those trust dynamics. The next one I want to focus on is on us, humans, how we think about AIs. In general, we individuals have those intuitive thinkings about complicated models. If I ask each of you to explain what is gravity, we have those understanding of gravity, but if you try to explain gravity in a way that if I keep asking why, I think that you'll quickly figure out you cannot explain. We know how gravity works, but for us, we don't know how to explain them. We use folk theories to help us to connect those complicated phenomena, models, systems with our behaviors. So folk theories are intuitive, informal and explanatory theories about how system works. More important, shapes how we behave, shapes our behavior. We use metaphors as ways to access or to get folk theory. In everyday life, we have that on all of our laptops. We have these email signs. So those designs are the ways using the email signs and chat box. So we can know that how each of those systems works. So those are folk theories. The thing is, what are the folk theories of AI? Do we think that all those large language models, like a really monster that can grant us wishes and we can get whatever we want? Or do you think that those models are like students are still learning and trying to learn new things each day like a kid? Or maybe it's a secretary can do multiple tasks for you as your personal assistants. Or it could be a scientist really knowledgeable about many fields. Or it could be just like a dictionary or encyclopedia. All those different type of metaphors or folk theories we have about those systems are important because two things. First, it will indicate how we understand those systems, and more importantly, it will predict how we behave and interact with these systems. It's really interesting. I think that for the next few years, there will be lots of studies about understand our own folk theories about AIs. The next one I want to share about is not systems, it's about virtual humans or generative agencies. Fiona's profile is text messages. My colleagues, June Park, who is also one of the co-authors in the CDC paper, and his new endeavors is simulate humans. He creates virtual agent. Those agents, each one is like a model. But those is simulate human behaviors. He did two things. First, he put a structure, architecture, a small town, and for those virtual humans to live. So as you can see from this virtual town, has people different houses, right? Has the dorms, has groceries, pharmacies, has stores, has cafes, has bars, has parks, and each house have different rooms, living bathrooms, and kitchens, bookstore, all those things. So he architectured a space, a town, for 25 agencies to live. And each agent is like a human, has their own personality, their history, their social relationships. For example, this is John. John is a pharmacy shopkeeper, and he has his family, he has his neighbors, he has different type of relationships with his neighbors. He likes to do different things. So this John not only has his own personality, he's also embedded in a social world. His wife, his kids, his neighbors, his co-workers, all those of them together. In this small town, those 25 agencies have different names, different relationships. They interact each day. They get up, eat breakfast, go to work, take bus, plan a party, do the dinner together, have conversations. The shocking thing is not only like June Park design those ones, but those agents, they can memorize, they can influence, they can make decisions. They start to have those emergent behaviors, means that they can generate new behaviors and social patterns. They learned, they become almost like a separate entity. So the question for us is really, do we want those people not look like us, but behave exact like us? There's a lot of benefits for June's study. He's super smart. His study. First is his main idea is there's lots of failures in those social media networks. For example, Mark Zuckerberg never envisioned Facebook will really impact an election. For him, June said that if we have this simulation to simulate people, we can better understand what are some issues that maybe a system might have, what type of behavior might emerge. So he can use these simulations to really prevent harms and risks. That was the starting point of this research. Yet, I think that when he creates something that's so powerful, can learn by themselves and can behave by themselves, that can be so social, there's fundamental questions we have to ask. Do we want those virtual agents that can perform, act like a human? Do we want another Sunny next year on Facebook that can simulate me and behave like me and interact with Professor Lin on Facebook, which is Professor Lin's virtual agent? By the way, I think this will happen soon. So in the future, we will have our own chatbot on those social media platforms that will be act like us, do certain tasks. Do we even want that? How those decisions will be made? Is that by individuals or by powerful companies like OpenAI, like Google? So those are lots of ethical questions we have to wonder. When technologies can produce another type of humans or agents exactly like us. More importantly, across all, I think that for AIs, we think about AIs, there's important things we have to figure out. How do we design responsible AIs that can benefit humans, can make us that we feel safe? We have this data better governed. These systems can be explained, fair, can protect our privacies, securities, and can be transparent. What are the ways we can design and study responsible AIs when those models, in principle, they are a black box? Nobody can predict what will be output or what ChatGPT will give because it's token by token. The fundamental design of those systems are opaque and not transparent and not explainable. So here, I think, is the main challenge we're all facing today. How can we design systems that responsible, protect us, and put humans first? Today's talk, mostly we focus on generative AIs, focus on those AI technologies. Yet, I think fundamentally, it's not about a machine, it's about mind. When we think about humans, there's lots of questions we don't know how to answer yet. When AIs become communication senders, receivers, become a channel, or become even the message itself, how we think about ourselves, how we use different types of theories from affordance to folk theories to all those interpersonal social dynamics, study how different types of people use that. Do we want robots for our grandmas? Or maybe in 50 years, do you want robots to take care of you? Do we want robots to take care of patients, to talk to our friends who suffer from depression, anxiety, or loneliness? How to answer these questions? And what answers are the right answers? I think that is the future of AI research. It's focused on us, humans, understand different type of users, and imagine the future and what we want. I'm also super excited actually about generative AI, not only because they can really benefit humans, but also because there's so many different type of languages, different type of animals really live with us on this world, but we don't know them. I'm really looking forward one day we can know and we can listen to all those animals, for example, whales, while they tell us about the wonders of this world. Thank you so much for the time, and